Went. I am an alum of the Master of Agribusiness program and currently a graduate assistant with the program. Some housekeeping items for the webinar. There will be opportunities to ask questions throughout the webinar. If you have questions, please enter them in the chat box and we will repeat them for the speaker. Established in 1998, our flexible hybrid program, tailored to individuals working full-time in all areas of food, agriculture, and animal health, has reached more than 500 students. We were the first distance degree program in the country focused on the business and economics involved in managing production agriculture, food, and animal health companies. Not an MBA and not an MS in agricultural economics, we are a professional degree program aimed at training managers for peak performance in one of the most rapidly changing industries today. Our students come to us with a bachelor's degree, 2 years of professional experiences, and having completed some prerequisite coursework. The companies and agencies who employ our students indicate that the skills our graduates hone while in the program directly impact their teams, divisions, and companies in a positive way. With us today is Lonnie Hobbs. Lonnie Hobbs Jr. is a native of Clarksville, Texas, and is a second-year PhD student in the Agriculture Economics program at Kansas State University. He is currently working as a graduate research assistant in the Department of Agricultural Economics, specializing in agribusiness management, agricultural product marketing, pet food, sustainability, and diversity and inclusion. In addition to researching, Lonnie also serves as a co-advisor for Kansas State's Minorities in Agriculture, Natural Resources, and Related Sciences, or MANRS, local chapter, academic advisor to the Kansas State Project Impact students, co-coordinator for the Kansas State Research and Extension, or KSRE, summer research program, and a graduate assistant in the diversity programs office. Lonnie received a Bachelor of Science degree in agribusiness from Prairie View A&M University and a Master of Science degree in agricultural economics from Kansas State University. So with that, Lonnie, I'll turn it over to you to get started with the presentation in relation to your work in the pet food industry.
All right, thank you, Jody. Let me go ahead and get my screen shared. There, and we should be good to go. Hi, so thank you, Jody, for that wonderful introduction. I am Lonnie Hobbs Jr., and today I'll be presenting my research of assessing product attributes in pet food using customer perceptions. So you may ask, why did I choose the pet food industry? The pet food industry is a growing industry. From 2010 to 2018, global sales were increased by 53%. And just to give you an idea of this industry growth in the pet food industry, I have compared it to two well-known industries in the food and ag sector, being the sports and energy drink industry and the coffee industry. And as you can see from this graph, the pet food industry is valued higher than these two industries and expected to grow at a faster rate. And you may be wondering, what is it that's driving this pet food industry growth? Well, three of the primary driving forces are: one, increased pet ownership, meaning more people are now owning pets; two, growth in the middle class and disposable income, meaning more people now have more money to spend on their pets; and three, changing customer preferences for higher price premium products. And there are a few things that's driving this change to higher price premium products. One being that we now see more health conscious customers. There has been a big push for more healthy eating within the human sector and human food sector. And we are now seeing that this is now transpiring into the pet food industry as well, meaning as more pet owners are wanting to eat and consume healthier products for themselves, they choose this option for their pets as well. We also see the humanization trend, meaning that these pet owners are now seeing and identifying their pets as humans, as a part of the family, where we used to see pets being identified as just a dog or a cat or just a pet. Now we see more embracing of these pets as a family member, more embracing of these pets as sisters, as brothers, as kids, versus just being a normal pet. And also, this demand trend is driven by increase in smaller dog breeds. For those of you that do not know, the smaller dog breed actually requires a more specialized premium product. And just to give you some insight into the top specialty attributes in this premium category in pet food, of course, we see natural and grain-free being two of the top premium attributes. So what is the problem? Well, given these growing trends, given these driving forces, there's an opportunity for the companies to differentiate their products to capture this industry profit potential. But as we know, in many growing industries where there are little to low barriers of entry, there is increased competition in this market as more people are coming in to capture some of this industry profit potential as well. And as a result, these pet food producers and industry stakeholders must reevaluate their marketing and sales strategies to ensure that they are offering the products that customers value most. And not only are they offering these products that customers value, they must be able to identify how customers are perceiving the value that's derived from their products. And as a result, there is a need for research to help the companies to identify these aspects of what the customers value and the customer's perception of their products. Well, the literature in the pet food industry is currently limited as it focuses more on the actual production and product development of pet food products, but not necessarily customers' perception of the attributes and customer perception of the value derived from the products. And as a result, my research, or the purpose of my research, is to provide insight to inform effective and differentiation strategy decisions of pet food producers. Our specific objectives are to examine the attributes that companies are using to differentiate themselves as value in the eyes of customers, to examine the customer's post-purchase perception of value derived from these attributes, evaluate the extent of the overlap, meaning that are the attributes that the companies are mentioning as value and highlighting as value to the customers, do customers actually perceive these specific attributes as value, or are customers perceiving additional attributes as value more than the ones that the customer or that the company is actually marketing? And the fourth being to identify product attributes that are associated with higher customer ratings. So the approach that we used was the 3-circle analysis approach developed by Urbany and Davis 2012. And this 3-circle model helps us to identify the aspects customers perceive as value in a marketing and variety of sources for improving the firm's competitive position and profit potential. So the first circle in this 3-circle analysis is the customer needs circle. And this represents the attributes or information that the customers are demanding or highlighting that they need or perceive as value, where we consider customer value to be a function of price and perceived benefits. As the perceived benefits goes up, given that we assume price stays the same, the customer value derived from the product increases as well. The second circle represents the company's offering circle. And from here, these are the characteristics which the company is marketing as value to the customers. And the goal of the company should be to increase the overlap of these two circles to ensure that they are marketing the information that customers perceive as value. And in doing so, they can then increase their marketing strategy and effectiveness of their marketing strategy, as well as increase their ability to differentiate their products. The third circle represents the competitor's offering circle. Similar to the company's offerings, this is the information that the competitors are marketing as value to their customers. And this point here, by combining these 3 circles, we are now able to identify the aspects of the three-circle analysis, which Urbany and Davis highlighted as points of differentiation, for the company being section B, for the competitor being section F. And the points of differentiation are the points at which the company is offering its value, the customers perceive its value, but yet the competitors do not offer. We're also able to identify points of parity, which are section E, and these are the attributes that both companies are marketing as value and the customers are perceiving as value. And point C, which is opportunities for companies to increase their competitive advantage by utilizing the information that customers are perceiving as value, highlighting as value, but yet neither company is marketing. So our approach to doing this, or to achieving our objectives, we utilize online customer reviews and online product description data from the companies. And the online customer reviews will be utilized as the customer needs data, the information that customers are perceiving as value, and the company and competitors' offerings, which are the information that the companies are marketing to the customers as value. There were a total of 5,837 reviews that were analyzed for 2 specific pet food products: Purina One Natural SmartBlend and Blue Buffalo Life Protection Natural Formula. And these are 2 dry dog food products that are in the natural pet food space. As I said, there are 2 specific data types: the company product description data and the online customer review data. These are our websites that we pulled this information from: Amazon, Chewy, Petco, and Walmart. And these were 4 of the top 5 online sites for pet food purchasing in 2019. And we also pulled product description data from Purina.com and BlueBuffalo.com to ensure that the information that is being marketed on these online consumer sites are the same information that's being marketed on the Purina and Blue Buffalo website as well. The product review ratings for the customer reviews range from 1 star being the lowest up to 5 star being the highest. And from there, we broke these reviews up into customer satisfaction, where we consider 1 and 2 stars to be unsatisfied customer, 3 stars to be indifferent customers, 4 and 5 star to be satisfied customers. This is a look at our review distribution. As you can see, there were more 5-star and 4-star reviews than any of the other review ratings. And for Nessa Purina, the primary websites for the reviews were Amazon and Walmart. For taking a look at Blue Buffalo's reviews, kind of a similar distribution as Purina, where there were more 4-star and 5-star than any other rating. And for Blue Buffalo, the primary websites that the reviews were examined from were Amazon and Chewy. And as I said, we wanted to take a look into the actual product attributes that are being marketed and that are being perceived by the customers. To do this, we actually broke the product description and the online customer review data and grouped them into product attribute categories. And just to give you an example of how these attributes category work, we take a look at the ingredient category, where any words that were used to describe an input ingredient were used in the product were placed into the ingredient category. There were a total of 96 words that were placed into the ingredient category. And of all of the attributes that were mentioned, 26% of the words that were analyzed fell into the ingredient category. We're looking at the sources of differentiation. These are the ways that the company alters the product, and the sources of differentiation tells us what type of change or alteration the customers perceive as value. So if you alter your ingredient category, customers can perceive this as a quality change or a functionality change. And also looking into the means of differentiation, these are the ways in which the companies can actually change or alter their products based on that product attribute. So for ingredient, the company can physically change their ingredients that they use to produce their product, or create a perceptual change where they tie a benefit or health benefit into the actual ingredient that is used. From there, the customers would perceive this as an increase in the quality or the functionality of their product. So taking a look into our 3-circle results, I want to point out a few things here. First, being that all of the attributes that were marketed by the companies were actually perceived as value by the customers. And this is highlighted as all of the results fall within this red circle for the customer needs circle. Also, looking at points of parity in the E section, health benefit, ingredient, natural, processing, and taste were attributes that were marketed by both companies and perceived as valued by the customers. And this is expected, as many of the primary attributes that the company is operating in, for instance, this was a natural product. So natural product as well as a rice-based product. So many of the ingredients that were mentioned by the companies were pertaining to the rice. Many of the health and benefit, the natural and organic aspects or attributes that were mentioned by the company were pertaining to the product being a natural product. And as a result, we see that falling into the points of parity section. Also want to point out, as it relates to the online customer reviews and the product descriptions of both products, Blue Buffalo was actually perceived to have a point of differentiation in section F as it relates to appearance and form and packaging. However, Nestle Purina was not perceived to have a point of differentiation. And this just means that the attributes or information that Nestle Purina was marketing to the customers did perceive this as value, which is great, but yet all of the attributes that they marketed, the customers also perceive this as value from Blue Buffalo, meaning that they perceive that Blue Buffalo offers these attributes or information as well. However, there is opportunity for these companies to increase their competitive advantage and increase their points of differentiation by incorporating some of these C, or these attributes that are in section C. And these attributes pertain to price, smell, sourcing, service, small breed, and large breed. And as I said, section C represents the unmet needs or the unmarketed needs. As the customers are perceiving this as value, customers are demanding this from the product, but yet neither companies are marketing this as value. And just to give some additional insight to the data that we received from these companies, we also applied order profit or economic model to identify if the attributes mentioned actually affects the product rating. And from there, this is a look at the variables that we use for this model, where our dependent variable of Y was the review rating, which ranges from 1 to 5. Our independent variables were each of the attribute categories, as well as the service that was mentioned or associated with the product, the year in which the product was posted or the review was posted, and then the site in which the review was pulled from. And taking a look at our order profit results, I do want to point out that we're not necessarily interested in the magnitude of the change, meaning we're not interested to see the number that's associated with that coefficient, but more so we are focused on the sign of the results, where we consider a negative sign to indicate that that product attribute was associated with more unsatisfied reviews, and a positive sign to indicate that that attribute was associated with more satisfied reviews. And taking a look at that into Purina, we see that the ingredient, the packaging, service, and reviews that were left on Amazon were associated with more unsatisfied reviews, whereas the year and the large breed attributes was actually associated with more positive reviews. Looking into Blue Buffalo, kind of similar, where health benefit, ingredient, processing, and smell were associated with more unsatisfied reviews, and the price and the small breed was actually associated with more satisfied reviews. So from there, taking a look into our key findings, we see that each of the attributes and terms that were marketed by the companies were perceived by the customers as value, which is great, indicating that these companies are effectively marketing the value of their product as the customers are perceiving the value that they're marketing as value. Also, opportunities exist for these companies to increase their competitive advantage by taking advantage of the unmarketed attributes mentioned by the customers. Those were the attributes that were mentioned in section C of that 3-circle analysis. And the use of words associated with ingredient and product packaging were mentioned most amongst lower or unsatisfied reviews. And this was for both companies. And in doing that, or highlighting this point, we want to point out that we feel that the companies can actually utilize this to increase or to alter their ingredient and product packaging to ensure that the customers begin to change this mentioning of these attributes in their reviews from lower and unsatisfied review ratings to higher and satisfied review ratings. And in conclusion, I want to point out that we feel this framework and the results of the study will help pet food companies to better align the marketing strategies with customer desired attributes. As I said, they can now identify how customers perceive the value that they are marketing to the customers. And from there, they can alter their attributes or alter their marketing strategies to ensure this aligns with what the customers actually want. And from there, the approach used in the study can be generalized and used in other consumer goods that have significant online sales and consumer review data. Now, there were a few limitations of this study, one being the disproportionate customer rating ratio. As you can see, we had many 5-star and 4-star reviews, and we feel that we can improve our analysis given that we had a more lower satisfied reviews as well to really see if these attributes impact the lower satisfied reviews versus the higher satisfied reviews, as well as the contextual assumption that was used when grouping the attributes and the words that were mentioned by the customers into these product attributes. Other than that, these were my references that were used throughout this study and presentation. And I do want to say thank you to the MAB program for allowing this opportunity for me to present my research to you all. I want to give special acknowledgements to my major professor, Dr. Alex Shanoan, Dr. Greg Aldrich, Dr. Vincent, Dr. Keith Harris, Dr. Zia Wiley, Dr. Dustin Pendle, Dr. Alan Featherstone, the Department of Agriculture Economics, College of Agriculture, and Kansas State University. And with that, I will now open the floor up for questions.
Thank you, Lonnie. Like Lonnie had mentioned, if you have any questions or discussion points, go ahead and put them in the chat. And I will be watching the chat to help Lonnie out. I do know that I have a question to get us started off with here. So Lonnie, how do your results relate to previous research on customer perceptions of pet food attributes?
So our results we show similar results to the previous literature on customer perceptions of attributes, in that customers value health benefit attributes, ingredient attributes, and product packaging attributes. However, our approach to addressing this or getting this information from the customer perceptions are slightly different from that in previous research, where previous research actually takes a smaller sample size of pet owners and give them a survey, or they do some sensory analysis to identify what attributes the customers actually perceive as value, where we take a step back to get actual customer reviews from customers who have purchased the product and that are willing to go back and leave a review to say, hey, I really like this attribute, or hey, I do not like this attribute. So we get kind of firsthand experience and a wider range for our sample size. But overall, our results are showing that the health benefit, the ingredient, and the product packaging attributes were actually the ones that the customers value most, which the previous research highlighted. However, we also have additional results to show that these other attributes that were not mentioned in the previous research was actually significant as well.
Have you done any follow-up research or observations to see if those changes have been made marketing-wise?
We have not at this moment. I'm glad you mentioned that. That it's actually something that would be interesting to go and see if these companies have altered their marketing strategy to incorporate some of these attributes as well. We've kind of been presenting this research here over the past year or so, and we're actually in the process of writing it up to get it submitted to a journal article. But the research itself is out there, so I'm interested to see if the companies are actually taking heed and incorporating these attributes into their marketing strategy.
For sure. With that, I am going to throw out an ad hoc question to see. I'm looking at the names of the people on our call here, and while I don't immediately recognize any of them and the potential employment connections they have, does anybody have any input on those previous discussion points related to seeing any marketing changes with these products based on your work experiences? I know, loaded question.
Hey, can you repeat that, Jody? You kind of cut in and out on my end. I'm sorry.
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So given the list of individuals that we have on the call here, do any of you have any experiences, work related or not, of seeing any marketing changes in the work that you're doing related to Lonnie's results here? And if not, that's okay too. I don't know enough about each of your backgrounds.
Hey there, this is Tony. Lonnie, thank you first off for presenting the research. I think this is really nice. I love how this word got out to a lot of different manufacturers that I'm aware of that this was happening today. So thanks for your openness. Yeah, I think how folks have approached their marketing using results like this in a different way. I actually think about it in a digital sense, right? Because honestly, as marketing groups are looking to adapt more quickly, I mean, real-time feedback, looking at the product reviews, kind of getting your first pulse in market is some of the quickest way they can do this. Now, specifically with some of the attributes, as you had mentioned, that slide kind of went by really quick, so I didn't have much time to digest it. But I do think it's just reaffirming for folks to kind of pull out a few quick hitters, in those first early reviews as a product is coming out or as a product's been in market for a while to adapt.
Great points, Tony. Great points. I'm glad that my research can assist in making some of those marketing decisions. I did see your question in the chat also about fake social media accounts and fake reviews. Now, we are trying to address that. One of the ways in doing that is we saw that many of these websites actually have an identifier to say if this is a verified purchaser of the product. And given that, or assuming that this is actually true, that this is a verified purchaser, we did incorporate this into our analysis as well. But there are still some additional research that needs to be done to kind of separate those padded or fake reviews from the actual verified purchasing reviews. But great question and great points also.
Yeah, thanks, Lonnie. And just to make sure I'm clear on that, so you're saying the data accumulation took into account everybody's, but there is additional filters you can layer in that will screen out non-verified purchasers? Okay.
Yes, that is true. That is true. And the way that we did this, once we were actually pulling this information from the reviews itself, as I said, the review or the website had an identifier by each review to say, hey, this is a verified purchaser. Hey, this is not. So we pulled that information in also and then filtered out for our verified purchasers.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions out there? I'll chime in with another one because I always have questions. So Lonnie, what next for you and this research? Do you have like a list of goals that you want to embark on to either look further into further research or getting this information out there, or what are your thoughts?
So I do have some goals for both in terms of getting this research out there. As I said, we're trying to get this published into a journal article and then from there, distribute the information that way. In terms of next steps to improve this analysis is, like I said, more distinction between verified and unverified purchasers. Also taking into account the results that we found and comparing this or incorporating this into some purchasing data to where we can identify if these attributes that we are mentioning, those are the top attributes that are purchased across the pet food sector, more specifically the dog food sector. But actually recently got a hold to some purchasing data, which we'll be looking to incorporate some additional modeling to get this information to identify and weave out what attributes are actually purchased more by these customers, and then from there relate that to the findings that I have here.
Very good. That's exciting stuff. I look forward to keeping an eye out for those things. It looks like there is another question in the chat. It's in regards to the literature. So can you tell us more about the literature review piece? Is it limited? Have you been finding other similar studies, or what were your results there? So
from a customer's perception standpoint in the pet food industry, this literature is very limited. There's not really many studies out there. And as I pointed out, the studies that are there kind of follow the approach of human food studies, where you're getting a sample size and you are having them to taste the product or having them to smell the product or having them to look at the packaging to see if or which one is more appealing. Well, there are benefits to this. However, dealing with the pet food industry is slightly tricky because the people that are purchasing the products are not actually the ones that are consuming the products. So doing a sample analysis where the customers are smelling the product, the customer are actually tasting the product, this can be beneficial from a sense of gathering information about the taste of the product. But in terms of marketing to these customers, this is where that limitation comes into effect. That's why we wanted to take the online review approach to analyze what customers are perceiving post-purchase, and what they are highlighting based on their observation of how their pet responds to these products. What attributes the customers are mentioning most? What attributes do the customers seem to value most? And we take this approach in where we make the assumption that the attributes that are mentioned most in their customer reviews are the ones that they value most. Given a customer review, it's not something that you have to do. You willingly and you voluntarily go on to leave that online review. So we feel that if you are leaving that online review, that is more likely, you're more likely highlighting the attributes that you feel are most important to you. There is also a limitation in this literature as it results to the demand side and the demand analysis, as it's a limitation in the data that's available to conduct these type of analysis from a pet food purchasing standpoint. So that's why I said that our future research, we would like to focus in and hone in on this demand side to identify which attributes are being purchased most, which attributes are customers willing to pay a higher premium price for, and then relating that back to our results that we found from this online consumer review analysis.
Absolutely. I might have missed it in the presentation, so I'm going to ask it anyway. When it came to coming up with the attribute list that you then tested, is that something that was just open-ended reviews, or was it something that was like, rate this product on its smell? You know what I mean? Like, was that a prefabricated list that they were, I don't know how the online reviews work.
I understand that. So this list was actually developed from other studies where they did more of a sensory analysis, or they did more of a confined sample space. That's how we got the primary product attributes. And then from there, we actually had to go through several of these reviews to ensure that they are mentioning these attributes as well as other, or identify what other attributes they were mentioning as well. And then from there, that's how we got our primary attribute categories. And from there, we started grouping into those categories using R. So a lot, long story short, a lot of coding to actually get the reviews and a lot of coding to sort through and categorize as well.
It sounds like it. Very good. Okay. Oh, question in there. Did you do that coding manually? Or use an algorithm?
A little bit of both. So the initial coding of pulling the reviews in, I kind of wrote that based on a previous code that I was given that kind of did a similar analysis with Yelp, where they were pulling restaurant reviews. And then from there, I started utilizing loops and algorithms in R to kind of replicate this code to actually pull the reviews from different pages, to then pull the reviews from the product description sections. And from there, actually start sorting through these reviews to weed out the words that I need, read out the words that I don't need, and then from there, group them into that category. So it's kind of, the initial coding was manually, but when it was all said and done, it was more of an algorithm. I hope that makes sense.
I'll give everyone just a couple more moments here to put in any additional questions or discussion points before we close us out here. And just as a reminder, this webinar has been recorded and it will be sent out within the next 24 hours or so once we get the recording rendered. So feel free to watch it again or share it with your colleagues that have interest in this area. Okay, I'm not seeing any other questions coming in, which is okay. We can definitely give everybody a little bit longer lunch hour if this is what you're using to do for your lunch hour. So with that, Lonnie, if I could have you stop sharing, I'll go ahead and share a couple of final things here with everybody. Okay, so thanks again for everybody joining us today. We would love to connect with you through our social media channels. Our students and alumni are very active on our channels, so it is a great way to start meeting others who have done the MAB program or who are also interested in starting the MAB program. We would love to hear more about what drew your interest to the MAB program and talk through how we might be a great fit for you if you are a potential prospective student for us today. You can visit our website at mab@ksu.edu and choose a time that works for you to chat with one of us here. If you know that we are the program for you and would like to get started, go ahead and start an application. If you sign up for and complete an advising appointment, we can send you a code to waive that application fee. So with that, everybody enjoy the rest of your Tuesday, and we look forward to seeing you on in future monthly webinars.